Okay, this is what I wanted to bring to people's attention. Those that maybe were unaware, and I kind of had a feeling that this was happening, and they really weren't talking about it because they were more concerned about as many as people as they can get to get the COVID-19 vaccines or the coronavirus vaccines, and to try to resume life to some normalcy as it was. And I want to be honest here and say, in my opinion, I don't really believe life will go completely back to the way it was because of all of what has happened up to now. And, with all this death and all of the mishaps, all of the things that have happened up to now, and this vaccine, and now we have all these other things that are starting to develop regarding the vaccine, life is not going to be completely the way it was pre-pandemic. So let's just get that out of our heads, because we are already experiencing the changes with the economy, the changes with jobs, the changes with our lifestyles, and how we have to adjust ourselves because of what has happened so far. So I wanted to show, it's an abbreviation of something that I don't think that really they made a lot of mention of what this abbreviation means, but I'm going to kind of break it down the best way I know how. So it's VAERS, which is abbreviation, or it's sort of, in short, Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Okay, VAERS. So, have you had a reaction following the vaccine? Contact your healthcare provider. Report an adverse event using the VAERS online form. So, it's a form that they're supposed to report if there's some type of death or adverse reaction to these COVID-19 vaccines. If it's something that is anywhere in the ballpark of semi-severe to severe to possible vaccine-related death. And so they keep bumping it back in terms of saying it isn't the vaccine, it may be other health issues that were exacerbated, and then once the person took the vaccine, then they died. And so how's a person to know? And so it did say in an article that I was reading about a Nebraska man who had a death after a vaccine, that it tries to reel you back from the shock of it all and say, oh, well, he possibly had some other health issues that somehow were exacerbated once he got the shot. And so I feel in my gut that this is my opinion, okay? So don't get too emotional, but I sometimes I don't want to be right about these things, but I feel like some people may not have as bad a reaction to these shots, while other people may have mild to severe reactions, and then there's other people that could possibly die from taking these shots. But you never know what would cause it. And so one thing they did mention was, I believe, swelling. It's sort of like, I think it's called anaphylaxis, where the person has swelling. I believe it's maybe on the inside, and it could cause problems with their breathing, and then they could die. If I'm not mistaken, that's what anaphylaxis is, because it could cut off your windpipe, and you could have breathing trouble and trouble breathing, getting air in and out, and then die. And so I believe that's why they sit with people for about, I think, a period of 15 minutes to see if you're going to have any reactions, but sometimes that's not long enough, because I've heard in some other articles and in some other people's videos too that have come across these things, these events is what I'm saying, vaccine adverse events, that what could end up happening to a person, they could get the shot, nothing could happen, and then maybe a couple of days later they die. And so who's to know who that could be? And so this is the part where I believe they have not really been coherent enough or clear enough. It's not been clear enough to express this, or they've been keeping this, on the low, because they don't want to create the panic in people who haven't taken the shots yet or who are skeptical of the shots. And so this is what I feared. So here's the article about the man that actually died. There are several articles here. CDC to investigate the claim of Nebraska death related to COVID-19 vaccine. And see, this is slowly coming out. It's slowly coming out. So this is the actual article, one of them. There's many articles of the same thing, but there's many other situations where other people have had the same type of event. And so possible COVID-19 vaccine-related death in Nebraska, CDC is investigating. You notice, investigating all of these articles with different people having these adverse reactions to the vaccine. They always say they're investigating it. And so the Department of Health and Human Services has been made aware that the vaccine COVID-19 was listed as one of the several causes of death for an individual in Nebraska. And so this, I think they should talk about more, because this is why people have, what they've even said, taken a wait and see approach before they feel comfortable about taking the vaccine. So this is what raises a lot of fears in people who are very skeptical about this vaccine, because, everything is not always completely foolproof until you have enough data or enough evidence to show that, okay, well, it is relatively safe. Not a whole lot of people are dying of it, but it's sort of like a wait and see how many people get the vaccine and what it's going to do to, because some people, maybe they don't have this reaction in the beginning of the first 15 minutes. Maybe it could take a couple of hours, a couple of days, maybe weeks, and then something happened. And so we don't know all of the people, and we don't know if they're reporting all of the people that have had this same event. So the individual, he's a male, he's 40 years old with a number of comorbidities. So they make mention of his other health problems because they want you to know that. So he was in a long-term facility resident. He died between 1 and 2 weeks after he received his first dose of COVID vaccine. So the death has been entered as the VAERS, which is, in short, vaccine adverse event reporting systems, where they report something that could have possibly been related to him getting the vaccine. So a national vaccine safety surveillance program that is run by CDC and the FDA, anytime a death or adverse event occurs post-vaccine, meaning after they've gotten that shot, the case must be reported to this system called the VAERS. This process allows the CDC and the FDA to closely monitor and assess the adverse events for ongoing safety evaluations. So when I hear that, ongoing safety evaluations, and they're monitoring, they really are trying to see how many people are going to take this shot and not have this happen to them, and how many people take the shot and have something happen to them. And if they have enough people or more people that have these events, then they're going to look at, okay, maybe this vaccine is not safe. So what that says to me in my head is that people are actually, you're voluntarily taking the shot, assuming that it's safe. So they really don't know that it's 100% safe if you take it. So they don't know if lots of people are going to die as a result of this or have adverse side effects. So this is a wait and see approach for them on their part as well. So this process allows them to basically monitor the adverse effects. So as the standard protocol for any death reported in VAERS, it says it will be fully reviewed. Okay, so the death occurred January the 17th, and the man received the vaccine the first week in January. So Dr. Gary Anthony, I'll say his name is Anthony, Nebraska Chief Medical Officer, said that the residents of the long-term care facility have been made a high priority in the state to receive the vaccine due to the higher mortality rates in this medically frail population. So we have the confidence in the safety of the vaccine. So this is what they always say about the vaccine. Everything is always said how safe it is, even though people have died and they're investigating, but they won't say anything else after or beyond that. And so it says, understand that there may be questions about the situation such as this. Exactly. And so that's the reason why some people are afraid or they don't want to do it, because they're not sure if this is safe. So COVID vaccine deaths can be attributed to, this is the word that I was saying, anaphylaxis, okay, and occur within relatively a short period after the vaccine is given, okay, which is why monitoring is done when they sit there the 15 minutes. So while I cannot speculate on this case, when individuals die, or maybe days or weeks after the vaccine it has been administered, it is more likely, now this is where they hit you with, more likely due to underlying factors, meaning you already have some kind of illness, and when you take this vaccine, if it's later down the road that you die, it could be possibly because you have other health issues. And so I kind of feel like that's, an approach to keep the calm of the masses of people who are skeptical about these vaccines. So it really, going back to the article, it says it really is important for individuals that have high-risk conditions to consult medical providers about the best approach to getting vaccinated. And so that's basically Department of Health and Human Services says vaccination is the best line of defense against COVID vaccine pandemic. So basically this is what you call a blanketed approach to trying to get rid of a horrible virus, and they're really not all completely sure yet because this is all relatively new. So they're doing what they can to beat the clock on these other variants, and it's gotten so out of control. They're at a race to get everybody vaccinated, and even if it means some people may have mild side effects, and unfortunately some people will die if they take this vaccine, and they don't want to say that, so they say maybe it was related to other health factors. And so it doesn't give you much information past that. And then they have this reporting system set up in place. And so I don't know how many people were made aware of this or not. And maybe more should have, that they're supposed to report if people die within the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes after having that vaccine, or if they have like maybe a serious reaction to it. And so this is what the reporting system is. And so I just wanted to mention that. So this article is all over the place. There's many other articles having to do with people getting their first, and even there was another article, I don't know if anybody saw this one, where a man, he actually got his first dose, his second dose, and he still ended up getting the COVID-19 disease. So explain that one. And so I didn't really read all the way down into that article, but I have heard some other people say that you still could get the virus. And so what are we taking these vaccines for? Is it to not get the virus? Because I'm hearing you still could get the virus, or is it to keep you from dying of the virus? And what they're not saying is that some people can get the vaccine and have maybe no side effects to mild or maybe severe side effects. They might have to give you some kind of EpiPen for the anaphylaxis. Just like a bee sting, when you start to swell and whatnot, you can't breathe. And that's why they have EMT there at the sites where they give or administer the vaccine to people. They sit 15 minutes. If people have trouble breathing or they have some kind of adverse effects, then they're supposed to administer some type of emergency, help to bring that person to or whatever, or out of that anaphylaxis shock. I feel that there are people dying of these shots, but they don't want to say because they're not really knowing all of the severities that could come with the shot just yet, because everything is still relatively new. That's what I'm thinking, in my opinion, that it's for them on this end, it's a wait and see approach. And so that's why they have this system set up to then come to numbers of, okay, how many people had mild effects, severe effects, or adverse effects that caused somehow their death. And so this is the part I believe they're not telling people. And this is why a lot of folks that are skeptic are concerned, because they know that this right here could happen to a lot of people. And I believe they'll keep this out of the news, and they'll only show like isolated incidents or incidences that looks to be isolated. Like, oh, okay, see, you might see like maybe 1 or 2 articles a week or every other week. But all of the other people that are having these effects, you're not going to see that until like far later in the year, once more people have gotten the shot. So it's like, it's a crapshoot if you ask me. And it's really out of control. It's crazy. And I feel like this is the reason why some of those healthcare workers, they probably have seen people get the shot and it didn't work out for them. And they just said, wrote on their chart, died of COVID-19, who knows what's going on. And so this is the scary part of all of this. And so I'm sorry to make this sound even more scarier. I don't think it could be any more scarier than what it is already, but this is why people are afraid of this vaccine. They don't know. And then the people, let's say the people that don't die of the vaccine, what other effects could they have related to this whole thing? Are there anything in the vaccine in and of itself that could cause long-term side effects? That's the other part we don't know. Could you have trouble, thinking, trouble breathing, trouble, some COVID-related type of, symptoms that even though you received the shot? So it's just something to think about. I don't know if people really, um, looked at it from that way. Some may have, but I have those questions. And so anyway, I'm gonna let this video go right here. But I thought this was something to really, really consider before you even get the shot. And it's like they're rushing people, you know, to hurry up and get these shots. And I don't think they really know all of the details just yet. So anyway, thanks for listening.